Hey, you guys, you did it. You made it. You're back on Monday night. This is God's Comic, Brad Stein, and this is Brad Stein Has Issues, where comedy, conservatism, and Christianity collide in a cacophony of clarity. This week's guest, Anthony Griffith, a comedian friend that I toured with in 2008. He's got an amazing story. It's inspirational. It's sad, but it's also redemptive and beautiful and wonderful. So we will be talking to Anthony Griffith. That's Anthony Griffith, not Andy Griffith, because if it was Andy Griffith, that would be a little bit morbid since he's been dead for quite some time, and he would simply be a carcass. And the last thing people are looking for on Brad Stein Has Issues is me doing a conversation with a corpse, or carcass, either one. A corpse or carcass conversation is clearly not charismatic. Wyatt, I was going for a lot of cuz, but I'm glad to have you here, son. You are Wyatt Leroy Stein. You are the button pusher. You are the producer. You are the sidekick.
I am?
You are somewhat, somehow, some way. You do what needs to be done just so people can tune in and see how well you're doing at getting better at being bad.
Well, I do want to say, starting off,
Yeah.
love the alliteration
Oh,
of the C's.
Thank you.
Great. And yeah, you're right. It would have sucked to have Andy Griffith here because corpses are so difficult to work with, as I'm sure you're aware.
Oh, Lord have mercy. They're terrible. They're just always demanding. Now, I will say this, they don't eat a lot, and that's helpful, so you don't have to worry about catering. Or, as they call it in the business, craft services. Why? Have you ever been a professional actor in a professional movie done by professionals?
Oh, you had me until the third professional, unfortunately. That's what got me.
Dang it. No. You know, you were in a movie with me, your dad, quite a while ago. Would have been, 2000 and...
I'm still getting royalties from that, actually, yeah.
I'll bet
I was
you
extra number 6.
You were extra number 6. You were a little kid going through a grocery aisle, and you had your little moment of fame, and I was playing a crazy like grocery store, almost PTSD.
A manager.
Manager, but weird.
You played every manager I ever met at Lowe's.
He had lost his mind. It was
lost it. That's just part of the criteria.
It was called Homeless for the Holidays, and it was a classic that is not watched to this day every holiday season. So that is the key, folks. You know, so many actors have this idea of getting into as many movies as they can. Now, maybe they want to be a character actor, and that's kind of what I've become, more of a character actor, playing different roles, different characters, and it's fun because, number one, you don't have to... The show doesn't rise or fall on you. If it eats it, doesn't matter. I wasn't the top billing, and if does well, I'm part of it, and if I do okay, I stand out because they weren't expecting much anyways. But if I'm marginal, it doesn't matter. I wasn't the star anyway.
So you're kind of the bass player of acting.
Kind of, but let's be honest. If the bass player is dragging or is not really up to the task, it makes a big dang difference. Why the bass is so important, much more important than, for example, drums.
Excuse me, I literally have their whole instrument on one foot pedal.
Explain.
Bass drum pedal.
Well,
I mean, they're both called basses, and they both have low tones.
That's true.
What more do you want from me?
Listen, how long have you played drums?
Oh, boy, howdy. How do I answer that question? There's a few answers depending on how we define when I first started. Are we talking about the first time I picked up some sticks?
Yeah, first time you picked up some sticks.
Or the first time I started actually,
learning
doing
technique.
it consistently, quote-unquote, professionally.
Well, when did you first pick up some sticks?
I was 3, I think.
Yeah, and you loved it. Do you know that what happened was this? I don't know if you know how we basically stage mommed you into the drum world, but a show would come on, and it was called...
An Out of the box.
Yes!
Out of the
That's exactly the show, Wyatt.
Yeah, I can't believe that out of every single thing I have forgotten since my youth,
Yes.
the Out of the Box theme song, surprisingly not one of them.
Yes, and I'm glad you remembered, because it does add and enhance the storytelling, being as it's about you picking up your first sticks. But what happened was this. So Out of the Box would come on and you would watch it. Now, here's the deal. Mom said that you would go and you would find like every little like can or little, I don't know, stool or cup or whatever you could find that would have a percussive ring to it, a tonality that one could consider bangable. And you would hang it, you would set them up like a little kit, like your own little kit. And I guess I don't know where the sticks came from, frankly, because this is before you would have had a kit, but somehow you found something to hang on to.
Probably like wooden spoons or something.
Maybe, I don't know.
Or maybe just my hands.
Maybe just your hands, or maybe just little spoons, or maybe, who knows? I don't remember at this point, obviously, because I was taking a nap. But you would go, and you would kind of play. I don't know if it was the song or whatever was happening during that.
No, it was primarily the theme song.
Same song. But here's what your mom noticed. She said, not only did you have this sort of thought of, I got to go set up my kit and I'm ready for this and I can't wait to do it and I'm excited, but that you kept time, that you repeated yourself doing the proper rhythmic connotation. So you knew what you knew what you were doing, like it, and you could tell this isn't a kid just going. You were like or whatever it was, and so they go, you know what? He might be a drummer. It might be like a Keith Thibodeau, who was Little Ricky on I Love Lucy. I don't know if you've ever familiar. Have you ever heard of I Love Lucy, Wyatt?
Oh yeah, I remember it.
Okay, well, it was back in the 50s, but they had a kid that they hired to play the son of Ricky Ricardo and Lucy, and he was kind of a prodigy, and he drummed at the same time you did. And I don't know if you know this or not, and I don't even know if I should bring it up. He was on our podcast.
Oh, right. That was that guy.
That was that guy. So anyways, you were kind of his ilk. You were learning stuff, and he said the same thing. That's what he used to do too. But this was way before Out of the Box. I think it was Out of the Octagon when he was younger, but that's because they were trying to be
No, it was into the milk saucer.
Maybe.
I mean, it was the 50s, you know, it was a different time. You actually had people deliver your milk.
That's right. And they'd have little, like, I think paper tops that would crimp.
In today's day and age, would you trust a random stranger to deliver dairy products to your door?
I would in this day, but not in this age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A clever but also important distinction.
Well, you're the one that brought it up.
I'm good at
Said
that,
day and
yes.
age. Well, here's the deal. A lot of people don't know when they come to Brad Stein Has Issues why we choose the guests that we choose. And the answer, and I didn't want to reveal this because I feel like part of the fun is it is such an eclectic group. I mean, if you look at the wall of guests that we have here, and by the way, guys, I don't know if you know this or not, but right over here is a 3 of hearts. It's stuck to the wall because I have some blank spot and I go, I got an idea. And I had Reno Collier, who was the comic that was on this past week, sign it. And I stuck it up there because I want to make that my new thing. Whoever comes live in studio will sign a playing card, and then I'll stick it to the ceiling, and eventually it will fill the whole space up with guests who've signed it. And then if I ever want to move from this place or whatever, and that we want to change decor, we can take it all down, and I'll have this whole pack of cards that people have signed. Now, the first one we signed was Gigi Butler, who was with Gigi's Cupcakes, and she signed my wall because I didn't. And at that point, she signed the wall and left, and she's in Florida. And I said, "No, I got an idea. I should do it like this." Anyways, so I'm going to have to get her a card and let her sign it so she can get back up there. She was the first to sign, though. But anyways, people that wonder, how do we pick the guests that we pick? And the answer is usually it's in the beginning, it was people I knew, so I could literally ask them or beg them or weep and gnash my teeth, and it would get old. They'd get sick of it. I'd keep calling them, normally at 2 in the morning, and weep and gnash my teeth. And people get upset. Why? They get they get burnt out. Okay, you're going to keep weeping. You're going to keep gnashing your teeth. Fine. When can I get on your dang show and get out of here and you can leave me in peace? But I also would see people on other podcasts. I said, oh, they're great. I would love to talk to them. But here's the thing. I don't have a publicist. I don't have a big giant machine reaching out and saying, this guy's got millions of followers where everybody would jump on. I've kind of just done it as my own little self, just saying, here's what I do. Here's where I'm on Life Audio, which is on the Salem Network and on YouTube. And I'm a Christian comedian. I'm a conservative comedian, nationally known. I have a podcast. Would love to talk to you about just good things, fun things, hard things, but truthful things. And so I got Anthony. I saw Anthony Griffith, who's about to we're about to interview. And like I said, I toured with Anthony in 2008 with Jeff Allen, Ron Pearson, Anthony Griffith, and myself. It was called The Apostles of Comedy. It was a tour that Jeff put together, and it was fun. And we had some great times, and really, really funny. One of the funniest things that ever happened to me on the road as a story happened with Anthony and I, and he brings it up right away. So it's so funny that you guys will appreciate it if you can even deal with it. But I saw him and his wife on because he has had some health challenges, which we will get into. You guys will see and hear about this. And he's had some personal tragedies in his life and difficulties. And this is a guy who was an actor and just really an up-and-coming actor in some big movies and had been on The Tonight Show as a stand-up comic. I mean, his thing was blowing up. And the wheels started coming off in his life personally in so many ways. And it's such an inspiring story. And I saw that he'd written a book and he was on a clip with his wife, like on a morning show. And I said, man, I got to contact Anthony and get him on my show because he's been so inspirational to me in the attitude that he's brought to the table when you hear what he's gone through and how he decided to navigate that difficulty, because that's really the key. How much can we learn from people who experience the worst case scenario? We kind of need them. We don't need anybody to teach us how to have fun when we're having fun. We don't need anybody to teach us how to get along with people when we're getting along or be at peace when we're at peace. What we need to see is somebody who's blazed a trail through some challenges that seem overwhelming, and they made it, and they can give us some hope. And, you know, one of the things that I have done and have been doing every day, for the most part, once in a while I get off, depending on something happened, I do daily brads. They are my off-the-cuff, legitimately no script. I'm walking in the morning, and I just film myself, and it's called Daily Brads. And they are literally daily devotionals about a spiritual concept I've been thinking about, or I just say, God, just give me something to say to these people that maybe can encourage them. And a lot of you guys who will watch here or are here every Monday, maybe you've hopefully got notifications, maybe they've been helpful. But even though I put it out there and I think, I don't know if anybody's paying attention to this, I don't know. But every now and again, I'll get somebody saying, man, I really love your daily breads. They've really been helpful. I needed to hear that. So for those of you who aren't used to it or you're new to this, and I want you to go to Brad Stein Has Issues YouTube, and I want you to subscribe and hit the notification and comment and like it so that we can grow it. But I also want you to go to Life Audio if you just want to listen, guys. If you just want to listen and you don't want to watch, go to Life Audio. It's on, I think it's on, why you're going to have Spotify maybe, and Apple Tunes. Are those
iTunes, not Apple.
iTunes.
Yeah.
Okay, so iTunes and Spotify, you can get Brad Stein Has Issues on Life Audio, and you can listen. And we're trying to grow that too, because that's on the Salem Network. So please go subscribe to that too. And for those who just, again, want to hear it, you're driving, you can't look at anything, please go sign up and get subscriptions and listen to that. But I wanted to show you a quick recent Daily Brad, just so you can get a feel for it. I hope it's inspiring. This is a podcast that wants to inspire and bring laughter and happiness and difficulties and overcoming them. So just to show you what these could look like, what the heck? It's my podcast. Let's show them kind of what my off-the-cuff devotions look like. A Daily Brad. Let's do it. Hello, Earth. It's God's Comic Brad Stein. This is your daily Brad. I have talked to you many times about my journey as I seek God, as I try to be a good disciple. This is what we've been called to be. So it's very difficult, very, very, very difficult to be a disciple, because it's a constant pruning, it's a constant shaping of your flesh to catch up to the redeemed spirit that God did all the work for. But I do also want to discuss a couple things today. One of the things that I've tried to do in my walk, in my ministry, my Brad Stein Has Issues ministry, which is a podcast, and also in my live events when I'm performing comedy. One of the things that I try to do is be honest, to be very, very honest and real and vulnerable, I suppose, about the journey of faith. The moment faith, the word faith is connected, you're dealing with the transcendent. In other words, there's something else other than what we can see with our three-dimensional attributes. Faith is something else. It's another language. It's another audio experience. It's another way to see that does not necessarily use, or probably for the most part doesn't use, our five senses in the material world. There are two elements of the Christian walk, and even for that matter, the theist walk, that are challenging and difficult. They are the hiddenness of God and the pain and suffering on earth. Those two ideas that do exist regularly on earth are difficult to understand as a theist. I say that because whenever I pray for the persecuted church, and I have for many years, try to find the 50 most persecuted countries and pray them by name, memorized. And just recently when I'm filming this, there was this horrible attack in the Congo in Africa, where my people, Christians, were kidnapped and taken to a church, and they were literally butchered. They were, their skulls were split with a machete, and their heads were cut off. These were the men. Their wives then were raped and taken, and their children were taken and basically brought into these homes of Muslims. Now, that's a man with a wife and children. That's no different than me. He just wants to live his life. He wants to serve the God he chose. And he wants to be safe, to raise his children, to know God, to love him, to be good people. And he was butchered in front of them, and then they were taken. Now, if you have a 2 or 3 year old child who's taken from you and given to a Muslim family or a Hindu family or an atheist family, that's how they're going to raise them. And at that age, they're really not going to know much different but then to become whatever they've been given. Now, I don't know what to think about that, but I don't think I can think of anything that feels more unfair to the Christ follower than the child who you wanted to raise as a Christian being stolen from you while you were murdered, and now raised in a belief system that is not real and true, and the actual God of Christ, the Redeemer. I gotta say that in that regard, it feels like they were abandoned by God. They were, as Christ said on the cross, forsaken. They are not different than me. They're not special people. They probably don't have some special, magical, unique relationship with Christ that I don't. Maybe they do. I don't know. If you're in a persecuted land, maybe there is something different. It has to be, because you went in knowing that this is the cost. But I see it as just if it happened to me. If somebody just broke into my house and said, hey, deny Christ or I'm going to kill you and steal your children and so forth and so on. And I wouldn't. I've given my life to Christ. I gave my life to Christ. And that means my family, everything is in his care. And he will do what needs to be done. But folks, come on, be honest. That feels real wrong. And at that moment, guys, I pray to God and I say to him, I don't know where you are. I don't know what you're doing. I feel very alone, very abandoned. I feel very broken, hopeless, confused. And here's one thing I say I do in the midst of these moments when I'm curious and concerned and frustrated by God and what seems to be his lack of acknowledging our trauma at the moment, is I say I still come to him. You know, I pray to God when I say I don't know where God is. I trust in God when I feel like there's no God to trust. I call out to the Father and I say, thank you, Lord, for Jesus and his sacrifice. In other words, my faith takes over where my intellect has no grounding. It has nowhere to go because intellectually none of this makes sense. So I'm grateful that I remain faithful. And Jesus said at one time, blessed is he who's not seen and yet believed. There is something mystical about believing when everything around you tends to wonder if it's even true because you feel left alone. And then I read in Proverbs today that if you seek God and his wisdom like silver and like gold and cry out to him for wisdom. This is in Proverbs 2. Read it. He said, I'll give it to you. And so I have now begun praying, God, I don't understand your hiddenness. I don't understand the pains that you allow. So give me wisdom. He promised if we ask for wisdom, he'll give it liberally. So I cry out and say, give me wisdom in those areas so that A, it can grow my faith and my strength and that I can share it with others. So I'm taking him at his word. And that must be what he means by faith, even when you don't see. There must be something mystical there, beautiful there, holy there, sacred there. And that's where I'm going. I'll let you know what I find while I'm there. And hopefully you'll beat me to it and you can lead me on the path. This is God's Comic, Brad Stein. This was your Daily Brad. So it is a devotion. It is off the cuff, or I hope inspired by God, but it's also heavy. I mean, devotions are about trying to make you think, trying to inspire you, trying to provoke, I don't know, change, trying to touch your spirit, your heart. And so it's heavy, and I think it's good and it's important. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's pretty much me being very real and vulnerable about my walk. I try to just really kind of let you know that this is hard and I'm just on the same journey that you are, if you're even on it. You may not even be on the God journey. You might abandon God. You might not believe in God. You might not care. But you might be also, you know, kind of testing the waters. And so hopefully that can be something that can help you move forward, or at least to make it worth an effort to go deeper. But, you know, it's heavy. This is a podcast. And I just think about Anthony. He's coming. And it's a great, interesting thing, but it also has a lot of hard moments in his life. So I thought, I can't just make it heavy, heavy, heavy. Let's just lighten the mood just for a second and do a little throwback to a quick clip of a comedy I did at Ball State University years ago called right here, Tolerate This. A little clip about wives and the thing that most terrifies them.
Women act like they are paralyzed by bugs. They can't move without a bug. But if you're not there, they'll take care of it. Oh, yeah. Raid. Man in a can. My wife buys Raid in 6-packs. You know why? Have you ever seen a woman actually kill a bug with Raid? You want to know why Raid have been making so much money off these years? They don't even put poison into that stinking can. It's scented water. You know why? Because that bug isn't being poisoned. It is drowning.
Well, as you can see, I just got a whiff of scented water and it choked me up. That was just a tiny, tiny little clip of I think one of my most liked bits. Wyatt, you've seen the spider bit, right? There's a little bit more to that. Have you ever?
Yeah, there was a lot more to it.
And see, I mean, it's genius, right? I mean, it's pure genius.
Comedy gold, honestly.
Yes. Well, listen,
They should hang that clip up in the Louvre next to the Mona Lisa.
Yay.
Yeah.
Ha. You think they have a comedy Louvre?
If not, we'd invent one.
We could. Why would we? Why don't make one here in Nashville? Nashville's the hottest spot around. Let's have a comedy Louvre.
I mean, it probably is the hottest spot around, considering how many more people are moving in.
Why is that? Why don't they
I don't know. I guess they found our home livable and likable, and I wish they wouldn't because it's so crowded now.
Leave us in peace!
I moved to this state to avoid you people.
I got out, and here's the key. Whenever you leave one place because you're disgruntled and you move to a new place, here's the game. Once you move to the new place, nobody's allowed to follow. It doesn't matter that people went before you and they didn't want you there. That's irrelevant. I'm here. Now it stops. The immigration stops now.
You know, I just thought of something. So, when you're in traffic, I mean bumper to bumper,
Yeah.
5-lane highway,
Right.
choked up traffic.
Yeah.
Every lane but the one you're in moves faster.
Yes.
But what happens when you switch lanes?
It slows to a
Now,
creep.
the lane that you were just in is suddenly light
Yeah.
speed. Well, what I'm getting at is moving states is the same way. It's the exact same way. You look at all these other states, and it's like, I want to be there. That's better.
Yeah.
And then you move there, and all of a sudden, the state you went from is doing fine. It's just like, you could have done this sooner, Iowa.
So it's like the lane's laughing at you, Wyatt.
It's mocking
Like the
us
lane
for our
knows.
hubris and our lack of commitment.
Though I will say this, and I love hubris with pita bread, by the way. But here's the thing. I agree with a lot of what you just said, but I think you did miss one tiny piece of the puzzle, and that is that we immigrated, or as it's better pronounced in ancient Phoenician, fled California. And
Yes.
California has not, in fact, improved. If you haven't noticed, giant hunks of it burned down in some of the richest areas of LA County, and the fire chief was fired, and the mayor left during the fire. I mean, progressivism.
What was going on? It literally,
There was no water, by the way, to put it out.
they were literally the beach state of America, and they didn't have water.
Right.
Monty Python couldn't come up with something that idiotic.
Yeah. You would think that if your entire western edge of your state, the entire thing, is against the Pacific Ocean, you'd think you might have access to some water. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand. Like, even the fire hydrants were empty.
Everything
How
was
does that happen?
I
What's
don't
the
know.
whole point of a fire
don't
hydrant with
know.
no water in it?
I don't know why. Maybe it was
Well,
for looks. Maybe it was for the glamour.
What are you
Maybe
going
it was
to do?
the
Give the
glamour.
fire a parking violation for being too close to it?
I'm telling you, maybe it's the glamour of the hydrant. It's just, it was there for the good looks. It's California. Maybe they gussied it all up.
No.
Maybe they put sunglasses on it.
No.
made it look like a-
No. Fire hydrants are just fire scarecrows.
Oh, yeah.
They're just there to intimidate it. They don't actually stop it.
to scare the, don't you even think about igniting.
That's right, fire. You see what we got? We got a red metal thing.
Yes, we call it a plug.
Yes.
So,
Or a hydrant. You hear
That's
that?
right.
Hydro.
There you go.
You know what that means?
Yeah, that's your-
That's your kryptonite. You know, unless you actually do something.
your
risky.
mortal enemy, my friend, H2O.
Oh, what's this doing here?
Well, anyways, they failed miserably.
Yeah,
but I got
except
you
for me.
in the family out of there 23 years ago.
Yeah, you kept saying there's a fire coming, and we're just like, what are you talking about?
Well,
it's like it's the 90s.
I was prescient. I saw
Like,
what was coming.
You're not president. You're clairvoyant at that point.
But I will say this: I wasn't in Malibu. I didn't live in the multi-million-dollar rich area anyway, so it wouldn't have really affected me. It's almost like, what is it? Is it? No, what's the term for it? I was thinking Schadenfreude, but I don't think so. I think that's the age, the sense of the age. But there's a German word for people that find pleasure in others' pain. Can you think of what that is? It's not like I can't think of it.
Shoot.
But I'm just wondering. So when the richest, most prized real estate in Southern California was burning to the ground, and very famous people's lost everything. What is it about human nature that makes us almost go gleeful, like,
Yeah.
I guess that's what you get for being rich
Yeah.
and famous. How dare you be more successful and more profitable than me?
That whole idea of Schadenfreude
Yeah.
is I don't get it. Like, why can't we just learn to love and, respect each other? Also, am I spelling that correctly? Am I pronouncing that correctly? It's SCHADEN
Yeah.
FREUD.
Yeah, sure.
That's the German word for it.
Yeah, did you look it up? Is it Schadenfreude? I don't know if that's...
Yeah. It's Schadenfreude. I just looked it up.
And what is the definition?
The emotional experience of pleasure in response to another's misfortune.
Okay, I was right then. It's Schadenfreude. Yeah, I mean, but here's what I'm thinking, son. I think that there is, well, it's resentment. It's coveting. When somebody has something we don't, it's almost like we feel like they don't deserve it. Now, I will say this. If there is any profession that is paid way more than it deserves for what it gives back, I would say acting is about number one. Maybe second is sports. And listen, I played sports. I loved sports. I have nothing wrong with sports. It's fun. And there's only so many folks that can do sports at the highest level. So they are incredible athletes. But the truth of the matter is, we don't need sports to be a healthy culture. And we don't need movies or films. Now, throughout human history, they've had plays and they've had dramatic readings and storytelling, but that's kind of the oldest element of culture that existed, and that is telling stories. That's how we tell the next generation who we are. This great hunt that we did, and we got 50 elk in one sitting, and it staved off the bad winter that would have wiped us all out. And we tell those stories and we pass them on, and those stories are important to us because they remind us of who we are. The Bible talks about putting down a stone of remembrance, like something happened here sacred. Never forget. And you're going to need it, Wyatt. You're going to need it in your life when hard things come and you feel overwhelmed that you don't know how to escape. You're going to have to be able to look back and go, but I remember I was here once before. and this is how God got me out of that, or here's what happened before, and here's what I learned from that. And it seems so overwhelming and so beyond my belief that I could even endure it or why it would even be happening. But now I see the growth, I see the honing, I see the manipulation of this clay of mine that God used to form into something that could be really usable. And ultimately, son, ultimately, it really is about what you can teach others with your experience. I really believe that as a Christian, as a Christ follower, that we are told that we are crucified with Christ. We're talked about, it's that's said often, take up your cross. And I do believe that's what it means. God's serious. When you try to become a disciple, he's serious about these things. He's not kidding. You count the cost, because it's going to be very, very hard for you to become molded into the image of Christ, because we don't want to. Our flesh fights against it. We creak and we groan. Just keep things safe. Give me a hammock. Feed me some grapes. I don't want to have to change. But yeah, magically make me this perfect, virtuous person. Never going to happen. But if you think about the idea of the cross, it is the sacrifice of one for the salvation of untold millions. And so your life can be a sacrifice through some challenge you've gone through, and yet others can be healed from it. So there is something beautiful about it. There is something that is not, in fact, Schadenfreude, but in fact is empathy, sympathy, commitment, kindness, right? Sharing. It's what Christianity said to the world. It isn't just about you and your family. It's about seeing the big picture that we're all made in God's image, and that literally means we all have the same Father, which literally means we're all related, which literally means we're all in the same family, which literally means we should love each other just like we love our own family members. And that's what we're here to learn. That's what we're here to grow. Thank you to all of my great, wonderful Monday night livers who are out there, Wyatt. You know who they are. I know who they are. They know who they are. And if we can figure out, son, if we can figure out a way to one of these days just run a live one, just every now and again, so we can talk to them and say hi to them and have a special, ask questions or whatever. Maybe we can look into trying that again. I missed those days when we could talk to folks, but again, we're trying to grow this into something that everybody can watch around the world. So we needed to edit it properly and get the lips to sync, and we just had so many problems that we really had to start doing it like this, pre-recorded, so that everything would look professional and God would be honored. And so here we sit, and here I sit telling you that I have a wonderful guest for you tonight. This is a friend. Again, it's not always that I get friends, but I've had a handful, and maybe a handful more will come. But this is somebody I toured with, somebody that I got to spend a lot of time in a tour bus with, talk to, get to know. He's the real deal. His life is a challenge, and it is an overcoming of some really very difficult scenarios that I even said to him within the context of the interview. It almost felt like it was a little piling on, like it was unfair what this poor guy had to keep enduring, like it wasn't enough, this bad thing. We got another, but you think that's bad, I'll see you that bad, and I'll raise you this bad. But just one of the most even-keeled, even-tempered guys I've ever known. Very funny comic, very good actor, and a very good man and a Christ follower. So learn from him, grow from him, and follow him and watch him and get his book and see what he's all about, because that's what this is. This is trying to inspire you, this whole Breadsign Has Issues, and let you learn from others. And ultimately, we become better people, one little step at a time. So this is God's Comic Brad Stein with my son Wyatt Stein as we head into the misty underworld that leads us to a special guest, one that I promise you will be inspired by. He sure inspired me. Please welcome Anthony Griffith. Welcome, Anthony Griffith. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. I'm great. Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Well, listen, I'm grateful that you would come on. I think what happened, Anthony, was I was just saw you on like an interview, maybe on Good Morning America or something, perhaps. I think you were with your wife.
Yes. Yes.
So was that involving your book, I think?
Yes, that's exactly right. We were promoting our book, and I think that was right. The beginning of the pandemic, so everything had not been shut down yet. Yeah. Mhm.
Well, I'm interested in reading it, and we're gonna have a link right here, folks. You definitely should. I'm guessing it's on Amazon. You can buy it, or
Can buy it on Amazon or any outlets. It should be available. But yes, behind the laughter. Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
Well, we're gonna get into that, and and allow you to sort of speak about it, face to face with the folks or the people that are just listening, because it also is on audio only out there in Spotify and all those places. But you know what, Anthony, I just kind of want to start by just letting people get to know you a little bit. You are and have been a professional stand-up comic for many, many years, also an actor. Um, and we got to work together on a bus tour. Man, it must be, I don't know, 10 years now or more. I don't even remember when it was exactly, but it was the Apostles of Comedy tour. But that was a lot of fun. I had a
It
good
was
time doing
fun.
it.
It was fun. It was it was the first time that I know it's the first time I had done something like that, but it was fun to travel with with guys as a group. Usually we travel as comics individually,
Yeah.
but as a group, it was a lot of fun and to just joke. I still remember the day that we were at a church. I think it was nice sized church, and we had to take showers there, wash wash up there at the church, and then it was one door that you and I laughed at, that we opened, and it was literally the audience was coming in. That's the only thing that separated us. So we were in our um, towels, looking at the audience as they're coming in. That was the only thing that separated us. And I
That
still remember that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because if you didn't, I was going to.
Yes,
But I was going to say to you that was to this day still the funniest, most
yes,
ridiculous thing
yes,
that
yes,
has ever happened to me in
yes,
my life. See, in the entertainment business, folks, there's a certain aesthetic that people want to create when they're about to
yes,
perform. And one of those aesthetics is the audience doesn't get to see you prior to the show. They see your posters, maybe they've seen you online, so they're really excited. They've bought tickets to see you. They have paid for a babysitter. They have driven a couple hours, and they see you as a celebrity. They see you as larger than life.
yes,
They can't believe they are about to see in the flesh the
yes,
people that they've only seen on video or on television in some regard. They respect you. They wonder, will I get a chance to even meet these guys after? I mean, that's how they think, and it's a very humbling profession we have, where people oftentimes give us this sort of glory that we don't necessarily deserve. But that being said, at a minimum, you
yes,
don't want to be seen prior to performing on stage, and the first time they see you is the hope that they introduce. And now, Anthony Griffith, you walk out on stage, and they're like, "Oh, there he is live." And we were working at a church. I don't know if it was a church. I was thinking maybe it was like at an auditorium, or maybe even at a college. I don't remember. All I remember is, for whatever reason, maybe we got there late. We didn't make it to the hotel. We took showers in the community, sort of like it was at a gym, like a
yeah,
community shower.
yes,
And we are walking with towels wrapped around our waist, because we're walked out of the shower.
yes,
We walked through a hall or something. And
yes.
the audience is walking to the
They're perpendicular to us, to the show. Yeah.
Yes, it's like, what is going? Anthony, it was the most ridiculous thing it's ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a sitcom routine.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to be kidding me. We're walking. Anyways, by far, every time I think of that, it just brings tears in my eyes because it couldn't have been more ludicrous of a situation. And there we are, just pretty much as raw as we're going to get with our
Yeah. And we were at the top of our game.
Yeah.
You know, I've been places when I first started years ago, and I'm changing into bathrooms and at lodges and
Right.
hotels, and I remember I was opening up for a Elvis impersonator, and he had his bodyguards, really, and we're all changing in the one stall bathroom, and we're all the entertainers. We're the entertainers.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
to take turn. I have to step out. Elvis is going in to change. He has to step out. His bodyguards are going in to change. Yeah, yeah. It was
Well, people don't understand how hard this business is. It's not
yeah,
easy. And oftentimes part of what sort of decides if this is going to be a career for you is how willing you are to endure
yes,
just such difficult scenario, and they're bad enough when the room is not well created for you to do a show. People don't understand the aesthetics that are
yeah,
necessary to make a show function at the highest peak. You got to have a good microphone. It has to be really good with a good sound system that really infiltrates the room. You really need good lighting so that you stand up and
yes.
it's easy for people to see. You really need good seating for the audience so they can have they're not obstructed in any of their view. It's really important if you can be on a stage higher than them so everybody can see you equally. It's really important that there's not distractions. You're not at a carnival with a tilt-a-whirl behind you running at full blast while you're. So there's all these pieces to what makes it the best case scenario. Well, when you start out, especially I can't say especially in stand-up comedy because I'm sure this is what it's like for bands, but you're working at dives, man. You're working at places that are not conducive to stand-up
Yes.
comedy, and it's hard. It's hard enough to bring people to laughter when you're trying to learn your craft. Than to have distractions and noises and televisions and all this, which, by the way, is how all of us learned
All
how to do this thing, was in the trenches of the hell gigs, as they call them, because they if you learned how to be funny, then you learned how to be funny, because this shouldn't pay off. um how long do you think it took you to where you feel like you finally started realizing, oh, okay, I'm moving into a higher uh a higher level of I'm getting out of the minors and I'm finally getting into the majors?
I think because there were stages, like you said, there was a stage that when I began, people wouldn't even listen to me because of the distractions, and because you know I'm I'm trying to be clean. Uh, Everything was dirty as far as people are they're cussing, they're some men are trying to push up to women, they're everyone's drinking, um and here I am trying to tell clean jokes, and in Chicago there were no um comedy clubs back then.
They didn't have zanies yet.
They have that thing. Well, um, in the black neighborhood,
I got you.
they were just what the old word would be juke joints, but there were a lot of lounges where entertainers. So I'm talking, and then I just follow a stripper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why clean? Why
because
did you want to be clean?
because my mom uh uh was a Christian, very devout Christian, and I could not cuss. There was no cussing. Um sh- my parents didn't cuss. If I said but, butt, that was
Yeah.
offensive. That was literally my mom. What did you say? So so I be I became funny because I had to develop other words like derriere,
Yeah.
buttocks. Uh, so my friends would go, Griff, really? Because
Yeah.
I'm 18 and I'm
Yeah.
still saying, kiss my buttocks, kiss my, and they would just, uh, really. So
Yeah.
I was different because not because I wanted to, because I love Richard Pryor. I thought he was very funny, but I could not um, do what he did. So, you're 16, 17. I would start with impressions. I had 35. I could do like 35 voices. And so in the hood, people just, I was corny. I was silly. I was, yeah, you're not funny. So when your family tells you that, that's the step off point.
Yeah.
You get past your family. So I tell any comic, if you grow up, if you start comedy in a church, that's not comedy because Christians will not boo you. Christians will, oh, it's great. They would clap for you. The club, they boo you, they cuss you out, they get off stage because you're insulting us. I'm trying to get laid. I'm trying to drink. I'm trying, and who are you? So yeah, so I went from people not hearing me to eventually getting booed. So I was like, yeah, I'm getting there. I'm moving on up. And and like you said, and I just I just kept going. I don't know why I just kept going. It you didn't hurt me enough that it made me stop. Some guys, um, I had a close colleague, friend, a friend, grade school friend who said, "Man, comedy's not that hard. Anybody could do it." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Okay." I took him to I said, "How much time you got?" "Oh man, I got about 4 hours." "Really?" "Okay." So I took him to a comedy club on Nutella night, and I signed him up, and I said, "There you go." So his 4 hours went evaporated after 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Because these were people who didn't know him. They were not his friends,
Right.
and they were just looking at him like, boo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he
Well,
panicked. He
people
panicked.
don't um people don't understand, I think, that especially if they want to be funny, or perhaps they are funny around their friends and they laugh, and
Yes,
so they feel like, or the friend will say, "Oh, you should be a comic," or they'll give them this sort of flippant
yes,
uh accolade, not really taking it seriously, or even knowing what it takes. But what I always tell people is, listen, if you are funny in front of your friends, then it might mean you're funny. It might, or maybe
yes,
they're just used to you and they give you the benefit of the doubt, but maybe it's because you are funny. But what you have done is you've created a trust with them. They know you, they like you. So when
yes,
you joke around, they already know the flavor this is coming in. They already know the heart behind it. They already give you the benefit of the doubt because they like you. So to be a stand-up comic, basically what they're telling you is, now I want you to take that in front of strangers.
Yes.
But this time, I want you to build that rapport up with people who've never heard you, who have no reason to like you. They have no obligation to like you. Matter of fact, they kind of paid, so they're kind of like, you got to make me laugh. You kind of owe me because I paid to get here. And you need to turn those strangers in within a minute or two into your friends who like who you are and your vibe and think, oh, yeah, this is going to be a fun ride. I'll trust you. I'll get in the back seat and let you drive for a while. And that's what makes stand-up comedy hard, is you are doing it for people who are kind of like saying, prove it, as opposed to people who've spent their life with you, allowing you the ability to joke with them anytime you want, because you've already won them over. You've already had your opener warm up the crowd, and so they're ready to hear you. And people don't understand that. I do think, and I want to get your thoughts on this, I do think it is a different type of performing art than others, in that most of the people I know of that are in the business, whether they're actors, musicians, whatever, when you talk about stand-up comedy, maybe you can tell me if you've heard this too. They reference stand-up as though they're in awe. Like they just think, I don't know how. And I'm sitting there going, well, wait a minute. You're a professional singer. That's hard. Hey, if you hit the wrong notes or what, they can boo. But there's something about comedy that scares the crap out of seasoned artists in other genres. And I've talked about this, but I'd love to get your thoughts fresh since I'm just bringing it up this time. Have you noticed that same response from perhaps other guys in the field of entertainment? You're an actor too, maybe other actors, that they do consider this the ultimate, the ultimate most, I don't know, dangerous of the art forms? And if so, why? What is it about comedy that scares people so much?
I think it's a combination of, I think it's the number one or two, uh, fear of talking in front of people. Yeah. So, hey, I've seen people sing. Musicians can get into themselves by playing the music and phasing out the world, phasing out the audience. But a comic is saying, I'm looking at you and I'm going to make you laugh. That's almost like the ball players, the great baseball players. You have the pitcher. I don't think you can hit anything I'm about to throw. And you have the batter who goes, I can hit anything you throw at me. And it's the same way. We don't think of it. We're just, I think, scared for the most part. And because the African American neighborhood, they think everybody's funny. So who are you? Because I'm funny. My friend's funny. Buki, Nick is right. Everyone's funny. Juju, uh, give me a,
Hey, man, that's your world. You have to come up with the name.
right. Nay and Shuby
Yeah.
and right, all the pronouns. Everyone thinks they're funny. Who are you? Because they're measuring Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy. Yeah. So who are you? You don't look funny. Everyone always said that. You don't look funny. You look like you should be a teacher. All my life, all my career, it's been you don't look funny. You
I've
don't look.
never heard anybody say I look funny either. Listen, I have talked this conversation with other comics and people and other arts, and you said something just now that I would say had something I hadn't thought of. So I appreciate it because it was insightful. When you talked about the musician, they can phase it out. In other words, they can deliver the craft, but they don't kind of care or need your response because they're have their own uh, they're content in their own space of delivery. Here
Yes,
it is. Do with it what you want, but I'm listening. I'm digging the groove. I'm
yes,
locked in. I'm in my own space. Comedians can't do that. I
ex-
have to have your
yes,
participation.
yes,
You have to want to engage me. And like you said, I'm looking at you. Two very, very lucid illumination of a perspective that I hadn't thought through is I do have to look at you like again with music. Yeah, you look around, everybody wants to feel like they're part of it. Oh, he's singing it for me, but it's really a general wash of the music to everyone who can receive it. But a comedian does almost have to say, I really am looking at you, and I really do need you to engage in response. And the reason I know that has to be true, Anthony, is this weird phenomenon that every comic has experienced is you're doing your show, everybody's laughing their heads off, you're having a wonderful time, you're having you're doing exactly what you do, got them in the palm of my hand, and you're looking around, laughing, joke, and there's
one guy. Yes,
one guy that has decided I'm not laughing.
yes,
I got
yes.
my arms crossed, or I'm
You
just staring at you, and
you see
the
it.
entire crowd
Yeah,
is in
yeah,
your hands, and you see one stinking guy that you
yes,
go, you will be laughing if it's
yes.
the last thing I do
Yes,
on earth. So it is interesting that I think we take it really personally
we
when they
do.
don't laugh. I feel like
Yes,
you're insulting me.
yes. I wrote this. I wrote this.
Yeah.
I the time and but I've talked to pastors and they go through the same thing. They go, well, in the black church, they're whooping and hollering. I got them, I got them, I got them. But this one guy is not going with the crowd. Yeah, so I hear from pastors who go, hmm, especially if it's a black pastor and he goes to a white church, he's going, for some reason, I don't get them. They're polite. They get the message, but they don't really. We're not jiving. We're not rocking and roll. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
let me, you've brought this up a few times in the conversation, so I think it's a great segue into kind of an exploration that probably is important, Anthony, because we live in a country that
it's divided.
it's divided and it's polarized, but I do feel like, I mean, I'm old enough to have. Well, I grew up in the 60s, so I
Yeah.
did live at the time when there was Jim Crow and there was actual, can't drink at the water fountain. I mean, I don't remember it because I was too young and I didn't live in an area that I was in Indiana, so it was, a Midwest state. It wasn't like the South. So I didn't really grow up around that sort of whatever segregation that I was aware of, anyways. Then I moved to Southern California, so that was totally not something you would ever see. So I didn't really experience it in real time, but it does feel like, and maybe this is where this conversation can be enlightening, is it does appear that human beings see or find what they're looking for.
Hmm.
If they think everything is racist, they'll see it
Yes.
everywhere they look. They will
Yes.
see it. Even if it's not there, they can manufacture it.
Yes.
And I think that's true. You just said that. But I think there's also, I guess, if I'm being honest, I'm certainly trying to be, and we're old friends, so it makes it safe for us to have an honest conversation because maybe it can help somebody. I think that what that also can do, though, is make the other person who perhaps hasn't the same experience of oppression, and that's obviously Black Americans have a different history than white, clearly. Um, that perhaps we don't see something and can dismiss the baby with the bathwater. Like I don't see it, so it doesn't exist.
Yes.
Whereas there could be the Black activist saying not only does it exists everywhere, which is also not true. So
Yes.
there does seem to be this disconnect based on a perspective that either is malicious, I want to see it because by being a victim, I get value from that, or it's out of, I don't know, apathy. You kind of don't really care. You're just going through your life. So you're not trying to be an activist. I just want to live my life. I'll just take everybody on their own terms. But you brought up a couple times already in our conversation about the Black church. Well, it's a different DNA, man. It's a whole different way that I mean, I'm sure there's probably more conservative style Black churches, but we think of them as the gospel thing and the singing, everybody's dancing and you know, with their fans and the women got their hats. That's how I picture it, right? And then you talked about Black comedy, and then you've talked about in the hood, they expect everybody to be fine. Clearly, we all grew up in the same country, but we had different experiences as to how we saw ourselves and our surroundings. There was almost like a parallel universe was happening simultaneously with people. And you're very aware of that, and I think you're socially conscious, but I've never ever felt you saw yourself or behaved like a victim.
No.
I think you just see yourself as a man who sinks or swims on his own and doesn't expect a handout, nor do you expect special help because you don't need it. You're a talented guy.
I
But
mean, the
there's something
beauty.
out there that I want to know what I'm missing, or is there some nuance to this you could add to this conversation to see if there's ways that we can find um, some connections perhaps that we miss, even if it's subconscious. We're not trying to be insensitive. We just don't see things.
Yeah, I think with us, because we're roughly around the same age,
Yeah.
and the fact that we travel, we see things different. Not you and I, but as a comic, I see the when people, man, I was killing in that city. I'm not killing in this city. I don't know why, because you're trying to figure it out. Because we're there for a whole week. How come I'm not killing? Um, this joke kills. This joke, when I was first starting, and I would do impressions of uh, Jason, Jesse Jackson. Destroy. I would destroy because of his impression. Um, when I first went on the road down south, I would do the impression nothing. Literally, literal. I mean, now those people are looking at me. They're not laughing anymore. They were laughing until Jesse said. So I had to take a step back a while and go, okay, because at that point, Jesse Jackson was the down with dope, up with hope. He was the activist, and there was a part of the country that was against that. And even though I thought everybody likes Jesse Jackson, and I found out no, United States is united, but we are divided. Yeah. But for me, because because I travel, I see things different. Just people are people. Yeah.
Right. Well, clearly, and that's the one thing that I think if anybody just takes any time to talk to somebody that's different than you, in other words, they have a different point of view, a different ideology.
Yeah.
First off, honestly, Anthony, it's a much more interesting conversation to talk to somebody that doesn't think like you. It's more interesting,
Yes.
but it can be volatile if we presume that the other guy is a bad guy because he
Yeah.
disagrees with me, that somehow intrinsically you're evil because of your point of view. And oftentimes that's a caricature of how you've decided their point of view represents. And it's not necessarily the case. Obviously, there can be racist people, but here's something like I'll hear people even today like, well, the KKK endorses, Trump. There was some KK. And I'm thinking to myself, who in the heck thinks of the KK? I mean, talk about an irrelevant
Yes.
who
Yes.
talk about an irrelevant group of people. Even a white guy said, "Oh, you're in the KK. Are you kidding me? What? Are
Now,
you by
now,
yourself? Do you
yes,
go to the little meeting? It's you and
yes,
one guy that's in a
yes,
rocking chair. What are you talking about?
right, right,
Nobody's paying attention to these any idiots because
yes,
clearly society
has moved
weeded
on.
them out. They weeded them
Yes,
out. We don't want you here. We don't believe in this. And so
yes,
there does seem to be this sense of this of simplistically defining somebody so you don't have to embrace their information and deal with it. It's
yes,
easier to not have to think maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I need to adjust my point of view, or maybe it's time for me to grow up a little bit, or maybe I don't know everything, or maybe because of what I believe, I'm not necessarily the righteous one simply because it's my belief. And the maturity that it takes to be introspective enough to change, especially deeply seated, long standing beliefs, is frankly rare, Anthony. It's not easy for somebody to say, you know what, I got to get over this thing. And
it's
yet we
very
saw
rare.
with Trump, right? We saw
Yes,
this large constituency of very prominent black performers. I'm talking about rap guys, um, athletes. I'm talking about guys that not that long ago would not have been considered someone who would advocate for Donald Trump, who saw something in that guy that they
yes.
said he's one of us.
There's a reason he's the president.
Well, tell me.
Well, I think it's a thing of charming. I look at Trump, I look at Obama, I look at Clinton. What is it that they all have? They're charming.
Yeah.
And and as my wife said, Trump speaks to the person with the lowest what's the word? The lowest, as she would say, you don't have to think too much, which is pretty much society. You don't have to think too much
Yeah.
because society, if it's third grade, sixth grade education, you have to think beyond that. If I keep it simple, if I give as my wife said, 3 words to quote. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Then people get it. Yeah, I can get that. If you're making me think, I'm not here, dude. I got too much. I got kids. I got a job. I got. Don't give me too much. But little sound bites. Yeah, I can get the sound bite.
Yeah.
I can get that, and I think that's the society that we're dealing with. Yeah,
But don't you think, though, Anthony, that in some ways, though, I mean, yeah, I guess there's the negative side of not thinking too deeply, because then you can be easily persuaded or manipulated. I certainly agree with that. But I think there also is some powerful truth in simplicity based on based on people's existential existence. What I mean by that is you don't have to have you can have a third grade education or be a Harvard graduate and still see that eggs shouldn't be $10 a dozen. I mean, there's things
yeah,
that affect you that go, man, I don't know what's going on, but
yes,
I can't afford to feed my family. So
yes,
whoever's going to fix that, I'm voting for him. I
yeah,
can't afford gas, so whoever says I'm going to bring the gas down, I'm voting for him. I'm a young couple who'd love to buy a house. I can't. What happened? If you
yeah,
tell me I'm going to be able to buy a house, I'm voting for you. Now, maybe it's nonsense and BS, and they're just politicizing the issues to get your vote, and they aren't planning on doing anything. But people are dealing with real problems in their life, and they need somebody to help them fix it, and they don't know what to do. So that simplicity is kind of all they needed.
yes. They get, because then the politician, once they're in, can go, well, we're trying.
Yeah,
It's just
right.
not working. Because they all do. They all do the first 100 days. Yeah, I'm going to fix this. And then that person realizes the government is bigger than you think.
Yeah.
You you can't fix, as we're comics. Hey man, it'd be best if the sound was like this, and the club owner goes, okay, you keep that thought.
Yeah,
And
right, right.
you go to the club, and it's the sound is still the same.
Yeah,
The
right.
the lights are still the same. Once I this is when I've been on TV now. Um, we can stay, the comedy club, the comedy um, uh, place that we can stay. Um, I go there and I see there's blood on the couch. So it wasn't a murder, but it was definitely something went down.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. maybe they drunk too much or got
Yeah.
rowdy. But so um, I'm the headliner. The opener in the middle of going, uh, man, what they're complaining, but they don't have any
Any clout.
yeah. So man, this is crazy. I have clout. So I'm going, you know what? I call the club owner. Hey, dude, I'll be staying at this hotel.
Yeah.
I'll be there for the show until the condo is rectified, cleaned up. The chain on the door, office hinges,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And the club owner, sure, I'm right on it. Never, the end of the week, never fixed it. The middle and the opener had to stay there because they had no options.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I said, I have to make a
Yeah.
difference for
Yeah.
myself. I'm not going to stay somewhere where
Yeah.
someone can, yeah. But in the beginning, I was that guy. I was that guy who man, I couldn't, I used to, if we stayed at condos, comedy condos, which where they put all the comics, I always picked the furthest uh, bedroom for thinking like a person from the inner city. If someone's going to come in and start the killing spree, I'm the third person
Yeah,
that they're going to
they got
get
to
to.
get through the other guys. Maybe there's a window I've made it out
Yeah,
of by that point. Yeah.
that's how I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And and I don't know why I said that, but
Well, I think just this whole reference of kind of being aware of your surroundings and taking kind of drawing a line sometimes in trying to decide how your life's going to be lived and what you expect
yeah,
from people around you. And I think a lot of us have learned um, to let things happen to us instead of sort of saying, well, wait a minute, I have autonomy here to make changes, to make different decisions. And
yes,
perhaps I'm not going to allow it to happen to me. I'm going to sort of take control. And that really, I mean, it couldn't be a better segue, Anthony, into what I think has been most inspiring to me about your life. Because I'm going to be honest, if you just looked at your life superficially, just as a cursory bio glance at the highlights of things that have happened to you, you didn't get a good hand. You were given more than your share of pain. And man, I have never met a guy who's so even keeled, go with the flow. In other words, at least the appearance, unless you're the greatest actor and you are a good actor of all time, that um, you weren't going to be defined by circumstances. And I'm just it's so inspiring and appreciative because you've gone through crap that seems like, okay, he's had his fill. That's enough. Can we give some to others? And no, seriously, I mean, and yet in life, it does seem like sometimes some people seem to have they've just been given a worse life for whatever reason. But my point to you is no one would know that meeting you. They wouldn't know the things that you have. Now, it might be clear in our conversation that you have a little speech, what sounds like maybe a speech impediment. Well, that was based off of a disease that happened to you. So I'm going to let you do this on your own terms because I don't want to sort of manufacture this, but can you just tell people, because this can be helpful, some of the things that happened to you, if whatever you're comfortable with. But more importantly, Anthony, how you've been able to just be at peace somehow in the midst of it. Let's start with your health. So when I first met you, we were in acting class
yes.
in Hollywood. I forgot the woman's name, but that's how I first, and you were on the Tonight Show and you were getting acting gigs. I mean, your career was really moving and you got sick. What happened?
I was diagnosed. Well, I wasn't diagnosed at first. Um, um, but hold that thought. I'm going back to when we make a stand. Like you said, the comics, you get to the point you make a stand. My wife, who traveled with me at the time, day one, she said, I'm not staying in this stupid condo.
Yeah.
I'm I'm out.
Yeah.
You continue, I'm out. So right away, I was like, but you can't because
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm out. Yeah, but that was that. So yes, we were in acting. Ellen Gersten, I think is the name.
That's right. That's right. Ellen Gerstein. That's right.
And we were in Hollywood because everyone was seeking their fame and fortune. going to Hollywood, and and I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And the thing was, the first thing, and I did it in the blog, I wrote about when I was driving and went blind.
Yes.
And I'm going, man, it seems like I'm losing my sight as I'm driving.
Yeah.
So I had to, I couldn't even park the car. I had to just get close to the place and then just get out because I literally. So I talked to the doctor and I said, "Hey, my sight left me. Is it because I have MS? No, no. Experts, no, no. It would be that. Okay, but I've never been blind before. Yeah, but still. So that's when I knew that the experts didn't know everything. Um, and I had joined a group of people with MS. And I said, hey, I went blind the other day. Has anyone else experienced that? Everybody's hand went up.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, sure, no problem. Which one? Why? Right eye, left eye, both eyes. And that's when the people who's in it said, yes, that happens. You will go blind from time to time. And um, doing investigating is that MS does affect your whole body. It's just some people, it affects them mentally where they have to sit down, they can't stand, some can't talk, some can't see. It's a variable. With me, I'm grateful that I can stand. I can, I did a cruise ship where people, a group of people were blind, had MS, and they were in wheelchairs and all like that. And I was like, wow, these people, a lot of people with wheelchairs as well. Hey, this is a group of people with MS. And I was like, wow. Now they didn't believe I was blind. I mean, had MS because I was standing. I was performing. You're not really blind. You don't have MS. I do have MS.
You're right.
I'm literally running back and forth on the cruise ship. You don't have MS because if you did, you wouldn't be able to talk and stand the conversation for 40 minutes. Well, I do have MS. So even that was making me go, okay. So MS is much different. It helps or works on people all different ages, sizes. People said, well, MS is not a man's disease. We've since found out Montel Jordan, who's the advocate for MS. MS, Montel, he has MS. Certain singers have MS. People said, well, MS doesn't affect your family. My brother has MS. My cousin has MS. So again, it affects different people different ways. And I just thank God every day that he gave me this. I won't say he gave me this. I have this, but he still turned it around to like now I can platform to use for others. So when they say I can't do this, I I go, dude, yes you can.
Yeah.
You,
Well,
you,
the only thing I notice, is just it puts a little it it did a little cadence in your voice kind of will get
Yes.
halted a little bit. Now,
Yes.
for example, I don't even know if it's the same, but like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. right now has been out talking, and he has a similar kind of abruptness or something. I don't know. Now, is that
Yes.
MS or is that something else?
That's not MS, but it has something. I think he does have a autoimmune disease.
Okay.
But when I heard him, I asked my wife, "Honey, um, is he battling something?" And she said, "Yes." But guess what? He's in the one of the Trumps.
Yeah.
Uh, if he gets yeah, so that doesn't excuse you. That's because you dealt with something later in the beginning or later in life. That doesn't excuse you from pursuing what God has called you to be.
So, of all the things that you would think would be the most deleterious
Yes,
to a
I like
stand-up
that word.
comic, I mean, here's the truth. Nobody
Yes,
wants any kind of physical ailment or nobody wants that. But if it had to happen
yes,
to a comedian, okay, if I'm blind, I could probably milk that for a lot of
yes,
money. The
yes,
blind comic. If
yes,
I was deaf, I probably could milk that. How about if I'm in a wheelchair? That'll get me some
yes,
special accolade, but I can still wheel around and do my show. But the one thing I can't really afford is
yes.
my speech. I got to be able to talk because
I
that's
got to be able to talk.
unless I decide to go to sign language or become an Apache delivering ancient Indian hand signals. Uh, I, that's going to affect my comedy. Now, you have continued to be able to get booked and perform and get laughs as a comic with speech challenges. So you've proven in real time it doesn't have to hinder somebody. It's really your attitude. But I am curious though, because it did seem like, I'm sure initially, you
Yes.
had to think, God, things are just starting to hit for me. I mean, I'm doing the Tonight Show. I'm starring in major motion pic. I mean, my career it's just starting to hit where I could thank you, God, for these great gifts, and thank you for this opportunity to have done this major television show, this and that. And then you get this giant curveball. So how did you how did you not get angry at God and say, what kind of a joke is this? I don't understand. You give me just a taste of the brass ring, just so you can pull it away from me and just kind of like laugh at me. I would think that most humans would struggle with God's goodness in
Well,
that moment.
I will say, I thought this sucked. Yeah,
Yeah.
it sucks. It sucks because I am on this path in God, and it took a while. It took therapy. It took uh, uh, training. It took exercise. That hey, God is saying, I am above what you have. I'm above what you're going through. I'm above it, but it will take time. So I, I, I personal physical training. I do that. I constantly do speech training to keep it my cadence so that it's now working uh, in my comedy. Um, Me listening to myself in previous shows, my cadence has slowed, which makes people pay attention. People have to pay attention. So I remember when I was young as a comic, I look back and man, I would just say to myself now, dude, slow down, slow down. People don't get your jokes because you're just slowing, you're so quick. Because I was so nervous back then. You're in your 20s, uh, your style. Now, my style is I'm going to take my time because I have to.
Yeah.
I'm going to slow down because I have to. But what I say is going to be funny. Uh, my movement is going to be funny because I've been a comic for over 40 years now. Yeah. And but it did suck and it does take training and it does, but it doesn't mean God is saying, I'm with you, but you're still going to go through it.
Well,
I'm
what's
with
interesting too, though, is as a comic who understood rhythm and timing, because that's how comedy works,
mm,
and you had to adjust. Now, you could have just sort of said, "Man, here's how I deliver it." Suddenly, I can't do that, so I guess that's the end of that. But instead, as an artist, and hopefully, I think as a man of God who says, "You know what? I'm not going to be defeated. This is simply." It's simply a challenge. It's not an end. It's just a challenge. It's a hurdle. And so what you did was you took your skills and you just kind of reinvented yourself. Okay, I'm still funny. I haven't changed. I just have to
yes,
deliver it with a different cadence. Now, part of our voice, the term we use when we talk about how our point of view is demonstrated to the audience, does come with the way we deliver it. Like, as you remember, I'm really high energy and I'm aggressive. That's just the way I do it. So if suddenly I had to just really sit down in a chair and just talk, I probably could do it, but I would basically be reinventing myself. I'd have to create a whole new way that I do comedy. I'm still funny. The flavor of my delivery has been changed.
now
And
I have a question. Were
sure.
you uh were you even growing up, were you uh, uh uh high energy as a kid?
Yes, I was. My mom used to, say, that I just was always climbing up on the cupboards and doing that. Now I thought, well, that's just being a boy, but I suffered a lot in school because
Yeah.
I just would get so bored and I couldn't just sit still. Now,
Yeah.
I was born in the 60s, Anthony. At that time, we didn't know there was a word known as attention deficit disorder.
Yes.
We didn't
Yes.
know there was a psychological condition known as obsessive compulsive disorder. We didn't know there was a drug called Ritalin
Yeah.
and all of this stuff that subdues and numbs, especially little boys from this energy that they
Yeah.
thought it's just, oh, well, he's just hyperactive. That's what they'd call it. He's just hyperactive. And
Yes.
we thought something was wrong with us.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't just sit and I got to do this and I got to do that. And I came to find out, and I mean this literally, not in some kind of victim, I have a mental disorder.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with the way my brain is wired in that for me to moderate my countenance and to be sort of a peaceful kind of laid back, go with the flow, which is what is I always felt you were like that. You just have a much more laid back. I'll just go with the groove. Wherever it is, I can just lock right in there. And I can't I I would have to force myself to find that space because it's not natural. Well, it's a chemical disorder.
Yeah.
So I can't help it. So and because I've never done the drugs.
Yes.
Everybody's on antidepressants now. All these
Yeah.
kids are on this crazy
Yeah.
crap. It can't be healthy. But we had to learn how to manage it organically. You're going to have to figure this out because there ain't no fix. This is on
Yeah.
you. And God created our brains that if you have a broken or a dysfunctional pattern, you can recreate a new pattern in your head. You can think a different way. You have to train yourself. You have to be cognizant of it.
Of
You have to be
course.
aware of what it is. You have to be choose to act differently, and you start cutting this new pathway in your brain. And I'm sure I'm not telling you anything because this is, I'm sure basically what you've had to do is you had to bypass whatever happened to you is that short circuited your normal
Yeah,
behavior, and you had to find a new pathway. You had to literally recreate a new way to think so you could live your life, and you did that,
yes.
and God made us that way. But it's not easy,
It's
and
not easy.
um
You,
people can misunderstand you or judge you,
yeah,
and you believe them because you don't know why you feel the way you are. That's all you know. This is how I think. This is what I
you-
feel.
you're like my brother. My mom would say to both of us, my mom would say, don't play with the stove. It will burn you. I heard, don't play with the stove. It will burn you.
Yeah,
I, I love my mom. I trust my mother.
yeah,
I won't play with the stove.
right.
My brother heard, don't play with the stove while you're here. that, that's what he heard.
Yeah,
While you're here, I don't play with the stove.
yeah, right, right.
So he would play with the stove when she wasn't there. He burned himself. He's crying.
Yeah.
My mom would go, what happened? I I was playing with the stove. What did I tell you? You said don't play with the stove. And she was just walking away because she knew her children.
Yeah.
So all his life, and I would ask him, why do you go? Why do you jump off garage?
Yeah. And see, I did all that.
Right? Why do you do this? Why do? And he said, honestly, he said because just because you say it, don't mean I'm going to not do it. I
Yeah.
have to do it. Then I get oh, I'm burning. I shouldn't do that because I tried it. And so that's been his whole. He has so
Yeah.
many stitches growing up
Yeah.
throughout his body
Yeah.
because he tried this, he tried, but he said that's the only way I can figure things out.
Yeah. 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 It's almost like when people set a restriction, we see it
Yeah,
as a challenge. Like somehow
yeah,
I have to prove them wrong, or I can overcome this, or it doesn't apply to me. And like I said, that's not rational. It's something, we all have, and as Christ followers, we're in a fallen world, man. We're
yes,
navigating with a body that is broken and wants to rebel. It wants to go against
yeah,
what
yes,
they want us to do. And
yeah,
so, you you had this sickness. You still have it, but you've learned to manage it. You've learned how to overcome it by saying, "I'll just find another way to do my." You never, I guess, considered. I guess I can't work anymore. You continue to do the work, and so one would think, well, that's enough. Okay, that was rough, but that's Anthony's trial. Okay, let's go find somebody else. And I saw a video. Now this must have been after you and I had gotten to know each other at the Apostles
yeah,
of Comedy, but it was I think it's called oh it's where people do monologues. Um,
yes,
and they talk about a story of their life or something. Anyways, I saw yours and I'm watching it because that's my friend Anthony. And it's heartbreaking, Anthony. I mean, it's so raw and it because of a situation that happened to you. I'm guessing you've lived long enough that this has become part of your story, and perhaps you've used that, I'm sure, to help others, and but I'm sure it's still painful. But would you be able to share a little bit about that for somebody that might be having an experience what that is, and that has to do with your child?
I think that was the title was when when worlds collide. I think that was the title, when worlds collide. And there's a great story telling community called the Moth, MOTH, started in New York.
Yes, the moth. That's it. That's it.
Yes. And so I think at that time it was uh they were talking to comics, and they said, "Hey, you got any stories to tell?" And thinking that, people, sure, I'll tell the story of when I was in the hospital, or I'm at a bus stop, or so. And I've never told the story of the death of my daughter. And I'm going to say, my daughter said, "Tell my story."
Huh.
That was the first time I told it. That's why it's raw,
Yeah.
because at that time, um, I was preparing for the Tonight Show.
Yes.
So you had the conflict of preparing for the Tonight Show and trying to uh, deal with my daughter who uh, who has cancer. Yeah. So I'm literally going back and forth doing the Tonight Show, um, taping, rushing to the children's hospital, and yeah. So it's whatever, it was raw. Yeah, I'm just letting out my um anger, my nervousness, my why. Yeah. So and it just so happens uh William Morris, agent at that, said, "Who is this guy? Who is this guy?" Now, little side joke. You're trying to get into William Morris
Yeah.
Hollywood for years. I've been knocking on the door. Never, the gatekeepers, no. But with uh, the technology now, I was able to get the William Morris by going, and they was like, "Man, this is an amazing story." Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's as though your daughter
Yes,
did that for her dad. Like, Dad, I'm all right. I'm good. And now I'm
yes,
going to help you. And here's what I want to ask you, Anthony. And by the way, we'll show a link to this. People need to see this because it allowed them to really understand, what you
yes,
were experiencing. And it's raw. It just is, because um, I don't know that I can think of another human that is more painful for a human to lose than a child. I don't think it's the same as a wife or husband. I don't
yes.
think it's the same as a mom or a dad. I don't think it's the same as a brother, sister, or a cousin or a friend. All of those are horrible. Death is horrible. Uh, so I'm not diminishing people's pain in whomever they lost. I've lost my dad. I've lost aunts and uncles and so forth. I mean, it's terrible. There's just no other word for it. But I think a child is the worst. And I don't know why, other than it appears that a child, the one thing that makes a child unique is they didn't exist until you made them. Like a
Yeah.
parent already was there, a brother was just joined you in the womb. You know, they
Yes.
came later and came out of the same
Yeah.
mother that you had, and father and
Renting
parent.
space. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's all people that kind of already were part of the human experience, and and are kind of coming alongside us on this journey. But a child didn't exist, and then two people that loved each other literally made them from whole cloth. You procreated. It's what God told us to do at the garden. You know, go make more. And so they come from us. We made them. They're like a piece of us. And I thank God at this point. I have two children. I've never lost one. I pray to God I never do, but who knows? Anything can happen. But I just feel like it's probably the most unique pain. So the question I'm not going to ask you is that true? Because I think it's obvious. What I think could be helpful to people is what lesson could God possibly justify in teaching you by doing something like that? He allowed your daughter to pass away. How,
I
what
think
lesson did you get out of that, brother?
the lesson I get was God is in control, and as I tell parents, uh, children are at rest with God. You're talking about the perfect babysitter.
Yeah.
The perfect babysitter is with your child.
Yeah.
You know, um, with my child, I'm going to make sure if my wife is with the child, my daughter, it's cool. Because we've had babysitters where, we get her and the diaper is loaded. We know that, come on, you're just taking money. So, but I always tell parents, hey, your baby is with God and he's taking care of her. They're having such a great joy because that's where we want to go.
Yeah.
The baby's just there first.
Yeah.
And it's cool because I think the Bible, absent from the body, is present with the Lord. So the baby went boom, boom. I mean, I'm born, I'm dead. I'm with the I have not left being around God forever. And
Yeah.
so with that, uh yeah, I'm so joyful that knowing she's in a better place and that I will see her again.
Yes. Yes. And I agree with you. And I know that's true, Anthony. So I think here's what I would really wonder if you might be able to be of assistance. Because I
Yeah,
assume that whoever I'm speaking to on my little podcast, um, people that need to hear something specific that from that person are
yes,
hearing it right now. So here's what I wrestle with. And I want to get your perspective because whether
sure,
you like it or not,
sure.
you were forced into that scenario. You didn't choose that. It was given to you. And I do believe, as Christ followers, and I know you are, I do believe that pain isn't necessarily a punishment to us. I guess it could be, but I think God trusts us with the pain. He said, Anthony, I can't give this to everybody,
Yes,
but I can give this to you
yes,
because it's going to be so brutal.
yes,
It's going to be a crucifixion. You're going to be crucified when you feel what is about to happen. It's going to seem absolutely impossible to overcome.
Yes.
And there will be a moment on the cross, because God tells us we're crucified with Christ, right? So we're emulating, supposedly on earth, what the Savior goes through to say, now it's your turn to go heal others. So you're on your cross,
And you're in
you've
sorrow.
lost your daughter, and God, for a moment, because he did it to Jesus, so he had to do it to you.
Mm-hmm.
You cry out and say, why have you forsaken me? I don't see you anywhere in this. This isn't right. And then you die. And then you get resurrected. You come out the other side somehow. And you end up healing all these other parents who have gone through it and say, there's no way out of this. And you said, let me show you what God gave me in my resurrection, right? So all of that is true. And everything you said is true. She's up there. I know that's true. She is in whatever perfect state that God puts children in. I don't know if they're kids forever in heaven. I don't know how it works. You know, I mean, if
like
I'm a 90-year-old man, do
like
I
no
go up to
land.
heaven as, but do I stay 90? Am I the old guy in heaven? Or do we all have kind of this equal age body, or there is no age? I don't know how it works. But here's what I want to see if you can help us understand, Anthony. This is the more important question to me, because you've endured it, and I'm sure it's still painful at times. But here's the issue. When people are going through stuff like this, especially Christians, it's easy to give the right scripture verse.
Yes.
It's easy to say, well, they're in a better place, because
Yes.
people don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. But it's not enough, Anthony. It's not enough. It doesn't help. It's not. I'm not. This hasn't made it better. You don't get it. It's not that easy. It's not that flippant. It's not that trite. This is deeper than that. I need something else, and there doesn't appear to be anything else. Tell that guy who's listening, or woman that's listening right now, who are in the middle of it, in the valley of the shadow of death, saying, you don't get it. There isn't any stinking answer that can get me through this. That's where it gets hard.
Yeah.
How do you overcome the overwhelming pain?
Yeah. I was looking documentary of Churchill, and I think he has a quote, when you're in hell, keep going. Don't stop right there.
Yeah.
And I love the Bible, what Jesus said, I'm with you. I got it. I'm with you. We're going to get through this together. You know, it's not going to take a day. It's going to be time. But Jesus has always said, I'm with you. Trust me. I'm the Bible. I'm not a man that God should lie. And he said, I'm with you. We're going to go. You're crying. Hey, God said, I was crying. You, your kid went through such and such. Guess what? God is saying, my kid went through such and such. God said, I got you. I know you. You can scream, you can cry. It's okay. I tell people that lost their loved ones, hey, every emotion you're going through is okay. You want to cuss people out, you get depressed, it's God is saying, I'm bigger than that. I'm big.
Yeah.
You can yell at me. I don't believe you. That's okay.
Yeah.
I understand the human uh emotion factor. I get it because Jesus was human and divine. So he get it. That's why he can take us with all our setbacks. He gets it. He understands. Um, I would when I was in Sunday school with the teaching Sunday school to the teenagers, I would tell them, you think you're the first one that saw that this girl and she's pretty. Hey, God has went through all of that. The drug dealers didn't start in 2025. He sees it. So God is, I got you. And I'm not gonna let you go. When we say I don't believe in God, I'm God is saying I'm still holding on. I'm still holding on because yes, you're at the worst right now, but I get you. I get you. So when man can't get on the cross, God, that's what God said. That's what I'm there for.
Mm.
That's why I'm coming from heaven to get on the cross because you can't right now. You're dealing with life. Yeah. So the good thing is from this experience, what my wife is now working with children. She has her practice dealing with children. And I'm at the point that with the MS, dude, you should have done MS first and then uh, losing the child, because losing a child, MS is nothing.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm stuttering now from I lost my child. It's not, dude, everything else does not compare. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I think what I'm hearing you say, and we have to give it weight because you really did it. You really went through it. So it's not like it's some bumper sticker or some self-help book. You really had to go through it. And we don't get to choose. No, I'd rather not do this one. Give me a different one. He goes, no, you get what I give you. And that's
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
And I think what I'm getting just from listening to you, because I keep wanting to think to myself, we want a simple answer. We give me an answer that makes it, oh, now I get it, now I'm better. Or give me a Bible, or give me the right prayer, or give me just the right antidote, and it's all better now. And some things simply are going to take time to
Yes.
to get there. But in the moment, it's almost like you're telling me there is no answer if you mean that in some formulaic way or in some self-help Tony Robbins-y thing. It sounds to me, Anthony, like you're saying there's this sacred moment where you don't deny the pain or deny the hurt. You can't. But something shifts where you simply say, Lord, I cannot carry this. So
Yes.
I'm giving it to you, and that's all I don't know what else to do. So here, can you carry this for me? And then you just move on, and something sacred happens that only you'll ever understand because it was your moment with God Almighty. And that
And
helped you see something you'll never have been able to see any other way.
when you say, God, I'm giving to you, God is saying, thank you. Finally, you were never supposed to carry this by yourself. And so
Well, we
many,
want to though. I think because God lives in the transcendent, He lives in the other dimension.
yes,
All we know is the spirit, the material world. All I know is if I do this, they pay me this much. If I eat that, I'm feel full. If I go to sleep, I get rest. We just know these sort of reap what we sow world where we get instant gratification for something. And so the spiritual world isn't like that. You have to
exactly.
kind of rely on this odd magic. God calls it faith and trust, but you have to believe in this other place that He says you're connecting to right now that is real too. But you're going to have to trust me on this one because it ain't going to feel like anything else you've ever gone through because it's not material. It's something grander than this. And I can't explain it to you until you get up here.
Because he's the only one
Yeah.
that's been there and been here and been back again. He's the only one. So you got, like you said, you got to trust him. I'm
Yes.
thinking I'm thinking of uh, the temple. The temple had three areas. They had the outer court that everybody and their mama, like I'm going to say 70% of people were at. Then you have the inner court that may be, I'm going to say 20 people. So you got 70, 80, 90 people. The 10% that was like, man, 20% is the middle inner court is when I'm getting closer to God. There's certain things I'm not going to believe. I'm going to start trusting God more. And then you get to the holy core part, that 10%. I'm going to just deal with God and trust whatever he says. Now you're Job. Now it's you're not like his wife. Why don't you just roll over and die? But no, I don't care what was done to me. I still am going to praise God. Yeah.
Mm.
And but that takes a while. That may take all your whole life
Yeah.
that you lose your kids. I lost one. Job lost what? All of them? All
Yeah.
seven? Yeah. I lost Job lost his family, lost his land, lost his wealth, lost his health. Who am I compared to Job?
Mm.
I
Yeah,
look
and
at
it's and that's one of the things I'm so grateful for the Bible, in that God told a lot of stories that
yes,
he wanted told, that had they not been there,
yes,
our lives here might have felt hopeless. It's like, I guess God can't take me because I did A, B, and C. And God said, "Oh, did I tell you about the apple of my eye? Yeah,
right.
he basically raped a woman and killed her husband." What? Yeah, why'd tell me that? Hey, well, I guess I'm no good. Look at the crap I've got. Oh yeah, well, let me tell you about the two daughters that had sex with their dad.
Yes.
Wait, what? That's the story you wanted to,
Yes.
but
Or
even better than,
Rahab, the prostitute who
yeah, yeah. But here's
was a
but
part
then
of Christian King. Right. Hmm.
but then we move into the New Testament, and I end up with phrases that I needed so desperately, like, "Yes, I believe, Lord, help my unbelief."
Yes.
I need that. I need to know
Yeah.
that it's hard, and that it's okay to struggle even in faith, because it's hard.
Yes. And I like how you just said, the guy said, I believe, Lord, help my unbelief. That part that I don't, that it's hard. It's hard. I just lost a life, a child. Help my unbelief. I
Yeah,
just lost my parent. Help my unbelief.
yeah,
I just been stricken with cancer. Lord, help my unbelief. It's not that I don't believe. I'm talking about that part
yeah.
that I don't believe, God, that the doctor has only given me 3 weeks. God, help my unbelief.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so beautiful that he allows the Bible to be human, to let us see we're all in the same boat, that
Yep.
until we join him and my dad and your daughter and everybody else that's already probably not even thinking about you and me. I
Yeah.
mean, they're
Yeah.
they're
Yes.
going. Listen, when they show up, let me know. But I'm good,
Yeah.
so I'll just enjoy my mansion for a while until Dad gets here, and I can say, "Hey, welcome home." But that's what we believe, Anthony, and we're not stupid men, and we're not ignorant. We're not um, small thinkers. But it's the only thing that has sustained us through the life that we've lived, and given us some kind of hope in the tragedies, because anybody can get through the good parts. That's not really complicated.
Yeah.
How do I get through the stuff that simply seems unmanageable? And
And God,
your life has been like that, man. And I'm so
God has
grateful.
always said, try me. Call me
Yeah.
a liar. Call me a liar.
Amen. Well, listen, I'm going to ask you one more question, because for my subscribers, I always have a special question that only they can
Oh,
watch. And so
Okay.
it's simple, but it's just an added bonus question. But I want to come full circle. There's not an easy answer here, but I'm curious, and it's simply this. You and I have different lives, different backgrounds, obviously different ethnicities, but we're both Americans. We both grew up around the same time. We both experienced similar things and different things. And you certainly have experienced some things. I would guess we didn't really go into it, but I'm sure that probably some racist things have happened to you in your life and whatever. I don't know how you could be your age and be black in America and not have had something. And I have my own life. Um, but so much of life is really attitude. It's like, what am I going to do with this junk when it comes my way? Because I can't stop what happens. I can stop how I'm going to respond, or at least decide how I'm going to respond. So you said in the very beginning, we do seem to be divided. Anthony, with your wisdom, with your life, and now as people have seen incredible challenges that you have seemed to have overcome and found a way to even inspire people with your life. What would you tell America? Because we're so divided, how or can we find some common ground to move forward in unity and try to be a United States again? Is there something you think we're missing, or you could at least encourage us to do to see if we could find unity again and be brothers and sisters? Hey guys, I'm interrupting my own interview. If you want the answer that you haven't heard yet, go to bradstein.com and join one of the 3 tiers. It is the militia of the mind, it is the warrior level, or it is the special forces. And then you'll get all kinds of special content and bonus answers to make you smarter than you could ever imagine. Go there now, jump on and join the Mighty 10,000.
Go ahead.
Thank you for coming on, buddy. It's good to see you after all these years. And thanks for just kind of opening up about your life and some of the things you've gone through. And also, thank you for taking the difficult experiences and sharing them with others, because I promise others will be healed from this. And wow, what a legacy for your daughter. What a legacy for your life. That we don't waste the pain. It has value. So let's put it to good use. Folks, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm just a comedian, but I have a point of view that I think has some purpose, some value, or you guys wouldn't keep watching or listening every week. I am a believer in Christ, and I believe that makes me one of the last truth tellers on earth. We are the ones that try to look at what life is really all about based on how God sees it and throw it back into your court so you can choose to join us or flounder around walking into walls while the rest of us are trying to head home. Remember, if they say you're being politically incorrect, I always say thank you for the compliment. The last thing you want to be is be censored or being taught you can only think and speak one way. You have to find the truth and then boldly and unapologetically speak it. And remember, listen, I'm just a regular old guy on the regular old journey, but I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, which is put the woke back to sleep. See you next Monday.